The 420 Executive Show with Landon Dais.
First and foremost, as we start this new adventure, I want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to my friends and family for their continued support. Thank you to my friends in the cannabis industry for helping me launch the 420 Executive Show. Thank you to Bold TV, Pith, and my other business partners for helping me launch this much-needed show on the cannabis industry. It is exciting to see the guests we have on the show this season. We will have politicians, cannabis entrepreneurs, social activists, and cannabis cultural influencers on the show. The goal of the show is to shine a light on the ever-growing cannabis industry in America. America has a complicated history with cannabis. Surprise, surprise, there's an underlying racial issue with cannabis, a cultural issue with cannabis, and a profitable mass incarceration system supporting the prohibition of cannabis and the ineffective war on drugs. In the long run, the war on drugs is hurting America more than helping. Ironically, if we tested Congress, the number of congressional members testing positive would be staggering. As a person who has worked in politics, campaigns, and government, I can tell you firsthand how many of our lawmakers privately and secretively use marijuana. Most importantly, we hope to entertain and educate the masses about the cannabis to undo years of misinformation. We are moving America and the world away from reefer madness and towards the era of the 420 Executive Show. Welcome to our show. I know. This is a show about marijuana, cannabis, Buddha, weed, green, dro, skunk, the devil's lettuce, that sticky, icky, ooh-wee. So why are we getting so serious? Pull out the bong and hit the blunt already. Relax. Let's have some fun and enjoy the show. Today, we have New York State Assemblyman Mike Blake, who is also the Vice-Chair of the DNC and is currently running for Congress in New York. We will ask him about the presidential election and its impact on marijuana and other questions about 2020. Additionally, we will interview Julio Casado, the CEO of Plant Inspired Future, Pith. Full disclosure, I actually work with Julio, and I am the CSO of Pith. So it only felt right to have the Pith CEO in our first Pith Lounge. Now to our segment, What the Spliff? What the Spliff is when we highlight some interesting viewpoints on marijuana. Today's What the Spliff is former presidential candidate Mayor Mike Bloomberg. He spent $500 million in 3 months. He was riding high until he was ethered by Senator Elizabeth the billionaire slayer Warren. Plus, African Americans reminded him they did not forget about stop and frisk and how people of color were impacted by stop and frisk. Many remembered how stop and frisk led to more arrests for marijuana than guns, which was the purpose of stop and frisk. Stats showed less than 1% of stop and frisk led to the discovery of weapons. So basically, the same rate of delegates Bloomberg won on Super Tuesday for $500 million, or about the same amount of NYPD lawsuits the city paid during his tenure. Recently, on BET News interview, Mayor Mike demonstrates his lack of understanding of the current marijuana political landscape. He admits he is against marijuana legalization, even though he admits to using marijuana. The mayor embraces his tone deafness about marijuana is reminiscent to his tone deafness on stop and frisk. His stop and frisk policies put more people in jail for marijuana, and he had a chance to exempt people from marijuana charges from stop and frisk. Plus, he admits as the 20-something in New York City, he used marijuana. Still, he did not have an issue for locking young people up for marijuana. This explains how he came into the 2020 election thinking he was Magic Mike, but he left as Tragic Mike. Welcome to the 420 Executive Show. New York City native, Assemblyman Mike Blake of the 79th Assembly District, Vice Chair of the DNC, former Obama staff member, a proud graduate of DeWitt Clinton High School, and a classmate of former Duchess Meghan Markle at Northwestern University, a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and most importantly, is running for Congress to replace the renowned Rep. Serrano, who is retiring. Welcome, Assemblyman. How are you?
It's good to be with you, Landon. How you doing, brother?
Feels good to see you, Assemblyman Blake. Sorry if I call you Mike.
You can call me Mike. Let's do the damn thing. We out here right now.
Well, listen, man, we're both guys who represent the Bronx. We're both New Yorkers. Yeah. We're very proud of where we're from. We have seen each other in Albany and the great work we've both done in our communities, but you really have just done tremendous work, and we're so happy to have you here. You're a native of the Bronx. You're from the 79th Assembly District. Currently, marijuana legislation is being discussed in the New York Assembly. What's going on right now with the bill?
Well, we first just want to give context, and Landon, I appreciate you having me on your show today. We want people to understand what's going on in the Bronx, what's going on in many of our communities, right? So I'm born and raised in the Bronx, as you know, Creston and Burnside. Went to PS 79, 118, DeWitt Clinton High School. Family's from Jamaica, so you already know I love oxtail and rice and peas, right? And do
you get extra gravy when you go to the restaurant? Because I don't get extra gravy.
I absolutely want extra gravy, especially if it's with jerk chicken also, because you can't have rice and peas and it be dry. That doesn't really go very well for me right there. Really? So when we do that, my family, like I said, from Jamaica, then obviously I grew up in the Bronx, and the trajectory has been a blessing. I had a chance to work for President Obama for about 6.5 years. He trained me in 2006. I was joining with him in 2007 in Iowa. I'm the brother that went from the Bronx to Iowa, and we won. And then I ran minority women business outreach at the White House and African American outreach at the White House. And now we've been in the Assembly for the last 6 years in New York. Why is that relevant to your question? Because for me, when we talk about what's happening with marijuana and we talk about cannabis, we have to make sure we address the challenges that have existed for decades in many of our communities in terms of criminal injustice, which we were able to address in terms of decriminalization last year. But we have to make sure there's economic justice as well. And so, the efforts that are happening, the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, MRTA, led by Crystal Peoples-Stokes out of Buffalo and led by Liz Kruger in Manhattan. The big push is how do we make this happen by the end of March? Because April 1st is when we get the budget done in New York. And when we think about what's at stake, you currently have 10 registered organizations that are able to have opportunities to license. They can have 4 licensees underneath them, one of which is in the Bronx. PharmaCann is in the Bronx over in Hunts Point. And so the next step is, okay, what are we going to do here to make sure that communities of color get the economic justice? And whether it be being the lead in contractors, being the lead that are hired itself. It's the primary reason why it didn't happen last year, because many of us said that we're not going to allow for opportunities to come unless black and brown folk get opportunities economically. So this is something that's moving, that I would encourage people to check out what we have going on our website, nyassembly.gov, so they can learn more about what's happening in the Assembly. But March is game time because of the budget. If you want to see progress happen, in particular when it comes to recreational usage, because we already know medical usage exists, then you need to be engaged in Albany and following us and mobilizing with us as well.
So let's take it from the local level to the national level. You are the vice chair of the DNC. We just had Super Tuesday. Marijuana is becoming a national political issue. Marijuana is now at least legal from a medical or adult use standpoint in major swing states. Ohio, Nevada, Florida, Virginia is currently dealing with it. So obviously it's becoming a national issue. However, we now pretty much have 2 candidates for president. We have Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden has kind of come out against legalization of marijuana. Bernie's been for it. Do you think that's something that's going to hurt Joe Biden in the long run?
Well, I think there's a lot of people across the country who probably needed cannabis for different reasons after Super Tuesday, right? Good or bad. Look, I think for former Vice President Biden and for Senator Sanders, they both have very different perspectives on this, whether it be because of someone's faith, whether it be because of economic justice, whether it be for ridding social justice that exists before. But I think the broader dynamic is we feel very confident that a Democrat is going to be the next president of the United States because we're seeing historic gains in terms of turnout everywhere. When you see places like in New Hampshire, when you see in Virginia, what you saw in Colorado, where it wasn't just like 5% or 10%, you're talking about 100%, 200%, 300% turnout increases across the country. But of course, this will be a conversation. I think in large part, in black and brown communities in particular, we have wanted to have justice for a long time. And we want to make sure that people are talking about that and being very clear about that as a nominee. So if people want to get involved in what we're doing when it comes to the Democratic efforts, Democrats.org is how you can learn what we have going, especially for the young people. We have an effort called Organizing Corps. We're going to have 1,000 young people of color ready to go no matter who's the nominee. That's the kind of energy we have to have out there, whether it be on cannabis, whether it be on economic justice, whether it be on healthcare, whether it be on jobs. People need to know that we're going to rock with them, and the Democrats are going to do that.
Well, last question or last part, you're running for Congress. So obviously,
I am.
You're running for Congress.
Oh, okay, I was just
Rep Serrano, I live in your district. Rep Serrano is retiring.
So I got to earn your vote on the show right now.
Yes, you do have to earn my vote.
Man, and I got to be real bold to make that happen.
As the 420 executive, pushing for the legalization of marijuana is definitely up there on my priority list.
Are y'all listening? Landon out here trying to hustle me on the air right now. Okay, keep going.
But if you're in Congress, hopefully we can keep the House majority.
Yeah.
We have the Democratic president. There's a lot of things we'll be able to do. So one, is marijuana legalization on your agenda as the next congressman for your district? And two, what are your other three main priorities as a congress member?
So my entire vision for New York 15, which is one of the poorest congressional districts in the country, it is the most diverse county in America. The Bronx now, according to the census, there's an 89.7% likelihood that any two people you meet in the Bronx be a different ethnicity.
Nice.
Right? Largest West African population outside of West Africa in the world. The collaboration and the energy is crazy in a remarkable way. And so my entire theme is Believe in the BX. And that's been our hashtag, and that's what we're going to be mobilizing around. June 23rd being election day, but now we have early voting, so you can be involved for 10 days before that.
June 23rd and early voting, people. Let's get out there and vote.
When it comes to Congress, Senate, and Assembly, April 28th is the presidential primary, so we want people to know you got to vote multiple times.
Right.
But to your question, is marijuana legalization a part of that? Absolutely. But again, it has to be focused on decriminalization as well as economic justice. It has to be a both and.
Okay.
Because you can't have communities that have been suffering for so long. Going a step beyond that, what else do we want to make happen? I do believe you have to change when it comes to affordability, because affordability is relative for that person, right? So you have to have not area median income, you got to have neighborhood-based income.
Okay.
We should make sure that it's easier for someone that's in the Bronx to have their rent and their home ownership based upon what's going on in the Bronx, not other counties that are much richer. When I'm talking about jobs, it's got to be from the cradle to the career. Specifically, there should be student loan forgiveness. If you do work and you come back to your communities after 10 years, your loan should be waived. That just makes sense to me. When we talk about what's happening around criminal justice, we should eliminate bail across the country and also make sure that we're not instituting anything around dangerousness or judicial discretion, which would make it easier for our black and brown folk to be locked up rather than harder. We got to invest in public housing in a much more real way, because it should not be a case where it's easier to get unleaded gas and lead-free paint. And so we come at this from a big idea and a big vision. That's why more elected officials have endorsed me than anyone else in the race. 1199, SEIU, 32BJ, DC 37, carpenters, painters, CSA have all endorsed us. Congressional Black Caucus, people on the ground are rocking with us, and we're showing something bigger. And so, our hashtag is Believe in the BX, and we want people to learn about us. I came back. This is my home.
Got it.
And I want to represent my home. So if you want to rock with us, I'm gonna do my pitch since Landon got me out here working right now. So text Blake to 66539. Text Blake to 66539 so you can find out what we have going, or follow us on social media. On Instagram, Mike Blake 1922. Twitter is MR Mike Blake, or go to our website, blakeforcongress.nyc. We're trying to do something special, and we have a real simple vision. Your block won't block your blessing, your zip code won't deny your destiny. That's why I'm running, because I believe in the BX.
Absolutely.
That's what we're trying to make happen right now.
Assemblyman, Vice Chair Blake, we believe in you. Thank you for having you come on our show. Thank you for being one of the first political guests on the 420 Executive Show, and good luck to you. As someone who's ran for office, I know what you're going through. As someone trying to make change, I know what you're going through, and we have true believers behind you.
I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Let's keep
Good
it going.
luck.
Definitely. No. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back to the 420 Executive Show. Here we're at the Pith Lounge, which is one of my favorite segments, where we sit down with industry leaders, cultural influencers in the cannabis space, and discuss the future of cannabis in America. Today, I have the CEO of Plant Inspired Future, a.k.a. Pith, Julio Casado. Julio, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Julio, it's a pleasure to have you here. We are currently sipping on some CBD Pith tea.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Salud. So please, man, tell me about what we're currently sipping on.
Yeah, so right now we're actually drinking our balanced tea. It's a great tea, kind of for like your mid-afternoon. It calms the stomach, so it's really good actually after a meal, particularly after lunch, and it gives you that relaxing feel of having CBD as well as being mixed with peppermint. It's just a really nice tea to have.
Now, it's just CBD. There's no THC, correct?
That's right. It's under the 3% legal limit of THC. So the good thing about our company is that, and I say obviously Landon is our chief strategy officer, what we focus on is bringing the whole plant into our product. So we don't deal in isolates. So, of course, the organic hemp bud that we put into the plant has all of the cannabinoids, with CBD being the highest concentration. But we work within the legal limits of what's acceptable right now in America, particularly with the hemp farm bill. All hemp must be under the 3% THC.
0.03%.
Sorry, 0.03%. Yeah, 3% is actually pretty high. 0.03%. And with it being under that percentage, you don't get the high effect. So it doesn't impact your cognitive ability. It doesn't impact your ability to focus. So you get a lot of the positive benefits of the cannabinoids without any of the impairment.
So you have Balance Tea, you have Spark Tea, you have Dream Tea, and I understand you're coming out with 2 new products?
Right. So we have Balance Spark. What you don't see here is Dream and Detox. And we're also coming out what we're calling Pith Daily, which is we have a ginger, green tea, and CBD tea. And we also have a peppermint and CBD. A lot of what we've been hearing from customers have been, hey, we really love the peppermint in Balance. So we decided to make a just peppermint and CBD tea to be able to provide for them. And then also we provided the green tea, ginger, and CBD just to give people who are a little less adventurous when it comes to drinking tea an opportunity to try it and to experience the product.
So as a business person in the industry, you're seeing a political change where a lot of people initially thought that hemp and CBD and marijuana was a left-leaning issue. But you're seeing a lot of people who are conservatives, people in the business sector that are going gun-ho in CBD and THC. We're seeing a lot of Republicans pushing the CBD bills in different states. Politically, is this now becoming a true bipartisan issue where Republicans and Democrats are coming together, seeing the potential of this industry?
So cannabis has always been bipartisan. I mean, in the sense that everyone smokes, everyone enjoys the plant. This is something that I think has been painted to only exist and only be used and only impact one side of the world. But the reality is that all Americans in many ways have partaken in the plant or have experiences both positive and negative. Unfortunately, the negative being more associated with our community, but positive experiences with the plant. It's in our movies, it's in our culture, it's in our music, and music across, I would say, both sides of the political parties. So I think that the politicians are just waking up to the fact that, 80% of Americans, from my understanding, support a legalization of cannabis, and they're falling in line behind what already exists within the culture, which is a very broad support for the plant.
So lastly, tell us, just a quick couple seconds about Pith and where can people go to find Pith?
Yeah, so I think Pith means something different to everyone who's involved, but the common theme is that we want to create a company that's commercially viable, that respects, acknowledges both the positive and the negative impacts cannabis has had on our communities, the Black and brown communities. So Pith being plant-inspired future, both acknowledges the potential sustainability that investing in plant companies will have for our country and for our planet, but also the fact that we call it Pith is an homage to hip hop, right? It's an homage to rap music where they use Pith as a reference to cannabis. So that's the thesis behind our company, the thesis behind our brand, and we want to move forward with that. We want to put ourselves in a situation or in a position where when it does become legal here in New York, that no one can say there aren't any viable minority-owned businesses for us to license. We're going to say, nope, we're here. We've been working on this company for quite some time, and we are ready to move forward.
And where can people find Pith?
So you can find Pith online at livepith.com. That's LIVEPIF.com. And you can also find us through a variety of different events that we do in the city. We had a CBD pop-up at the Bronx brand. As you can see, I'm wearing one of their shirts. They're over in Bruckner. We'll be this Saturday at Miss Harlem. So just follow us on Instagram at LivePith. Visit our website, and you can catch up with us wherever we are.
Julio, thank you for joining the Pith Lounge, and thank you for coming on the 420 Executive Show.
Thank you for having me.